Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Thank you for tuning in. Today I want to talk with you about the feeling that, you may be judged by others. And that may be just our feeling, right? But it's a difficult feeling. That some of us have social anxiety and feel like you walk into a room and, are people going to judge me? Am I going to be imperfect? Is there something wrong about me? Like if we have constantly these feelings that maybe people don't like you, you're a bad person, there's something wrong with you, like many people have those thoughts in their mind, or sometimes we're not even aware of these thoughts, but they are sort of like going around in our subconscious. And if right now this feels like, this may be me, then this video is for you. And I want to speak to you my intention is to speak to you in the most supportive way, because I know how it feels when you feel that about yourself. And it usually has to do with difficult experiences that you've made in your past, most likely in your childhood, where maybe you got the sense or the feeling that a caretaker or a parent did not like you or appreciate you, that person or several people did not hear you or see you, or that you couldn't be yourself, maybe that you didn't feel allowed to be yourself. Maybe you felt like it wasn't enough to be yourself. Maybe you felt like, I'm too sensitive, I'm too loud, I'm different than everybody else. And, when we feel this way, there's something within us that is created. We could call it a wound. Yeah. When something within us, some of us are more sensitive and some of us are less sensitive. And even if you have siblings and you all grew up in the same household, everybody had still a different childhood. Just because your parents or caretakers, treated each human differently, and you had a different perspective, and you took in the words that are spoken, the way they were spoken, whatever happened between your parents or in interaction with you or other people. Every person takes in information uniquely. And again, like I always say in these videos, this is no judgment to your parents, because most parents do whatever they could, with the knowledge that they have at the time. And it is, our job as adults to figure out, what did we perceive growing up in a certain way, and what do I need to make peace with myself around this situation? And maybe not even to make peace, but what happened within myself, and how can I soothe that part of me so that I feel safer in who I am, who I truly am, safer to be in my skin, to express myself, to really allow myself to flourish as who I am without the need to mask myself or the need to hide parts of myself, and all these kind of things. I could go on and on about that. But the point that I want to make is often when we felt like, and again, that's not a judgment to a parent or, caretaking figure. If we are sensitive children, we may confuse something that somebody says with criticism or with an attack on who we really are. Most of the parents will tell you, I love you. Maybe I couldn't show you. Maybe I couldn't be the parent that you needed me to be. But maybe they showed love in other ways, through food or shelter or, overly caring about, material things or physical things. And your needs are still valid. Yeah, it's not like one is valid and one is not valid, or one is right and one isn't. Your needs are absolutely valid, but as adults, we get to find new ways to get our needs met. First of all, by checking in, what are my needs? And maybe where do I have wounds about needs that haven't been met in childhood, for example. And many of us have that wound of emotional neglect or a sense of rejection for who we are. That's how we interpret it. And again, the way that you interpret it is absolutely valid. If a rupture occurred in your past, then it's important to face it, look at it, feel what hurts. Yeah, allow yourself to feel what hurts. And then also notice, okay, what would I have needed? Is it physical touch, like a hug? Is it words of affirmation? Yeah, we could actually go into love languages here. Yeah, what would you have needed? What is your language of love that you want to receive love in? Because if you learn to understand it, you can also communicate it with a partner, with your friends, with, new people that enter your life. But sometimes we're even afraid to share that because we have a very low feeling of self-worth because of the way that we perceived our own worth growing up. And if our sense of worth from the way that we grew up is very low, then this is an invitation for you to not try to get more validation from the outside world or wait for validation from the outside world. I mean, many of us, especially women, feel like waiting to be chosen by a man, by people on social media to follow you or whatever, And again, this is not gender specific. You can be any gender. Or not identify with any gender and still feel that way. And in that moment, it's really important for us to decide, you know what, let me choose myself for a while. And not in a rigid sense, just in a sense of, if I had been my own parent back then, I would choose me. I would try to understand that little boy or little girl. I would try to make them feel safe, make them feel heard, ask them what they need, get to know their character, make them feel understood, support them in becoming the most expressed, realist, most natural version of self. That's at least how I would want to treat my inner child or my own child, if I had any. And I feel like this act of, I call that reparenting. This is like showing up for yourself in the way that you wish your parent or caretaker had shown up for yourself. And that takes some checking in with yourself. And facing, all right, this is how my childhood went. And I know a lot of us feel like, I didn't have negative things in my childhood, but then they are facing still limitations and blockages in their life. And that's valid, that's okay. But then it's an invitation to look a little deeper. Allow yourself to be emotional about things. Because our inner child, the part of us that is a child, still lives in us. And that part of us is not logical. That part of us is emotional and sensational. Sensational means feeling in your body. This part of yourself, that inner child, still lives in your nervous system. And you get to know that part. Get to know that inner child of yourself. Because the more you get to know it, the safer you will feel to be yourself. To be yourself without checking on yourself, how you will be perceived, if people like you, if there's somebody who has a judgment on you, by getting to know yourself on those deeper layers, in those deeper ways. You're understanding your behavior now as an adult. You're understanding the limitations we put on ourselves. You're understanding where you're holding back or where you're trying to be more or different than from how you are naturally. You're understanding why you choose certain circumstances and experiences. You understand why you choose the same partner with a different face several times. Yeah, because we choose people in order to heal or it's often not very healing if we choose from a conditioned place, but we choose in order to mirror what has not been healed, what has not been looked at and integrated or cleared from our system as a wound. And so if you're somebody who, is afraid to walk into a room of strangers, if you are somebody who's afraid of other people's judgment, and that's why you're sometimes hiding or, trying not to be seen, or you're very, very worried about how you look like and what you say and how somebody could not like it. You're always trying to be the good person who is liked by everybody and, maybe not saying what you truly think because that could be too radical or something. I've been there too. And I'm telling you, it didn't do much for me. It kept me in the safe normality. But I also feel like I didn't make many deep friendships then because I was just a good girl and I didn't have a proper opinion often. I was trying to stay in the middle field where, you're not going too deep and you're not going too shallow. And that's why I feel like, my holding back was holding me back. My trying to be liked was actually holding me back from my true expression. And if you have the feeling like you are not enough, then it's often because you are not knowing yourself enough. If you feel like you're too much, maybe you're trying too hard to convince others. Yeah, I think we're not often looking at these things like that, but that really helped me. Because who are you to yourself? Where are you limiting your expression? Because I'm experiencing this right now, that I'm in a phase in my life where I just moved to a new place. And all my deep friendships are in another place. But I also have some deep friendships here, returning to my home country. And still, I feel like I've developed so much and I've grown. And I feel at the moment that I would love to make some new friendships here in Berlin. And I'm not afraid anymore of doing that because I know who I am now. And I know that if I walk into a room, I get to be myself. And I'm not afraid to be myself anymore. I don't really mind if somebody likes me or not because it doesn't say anything about my true value. But if we learn in childhood that what your caretakers or parents or siblings or whatever think about you is the measure of the value that you provide to the world, the value that you embody, then we may walk into all the rooms after that when we're adults and it's not actually, we're not at the mercy of our family liking us or not, or accepting us or loving us. We will still, with that mindset and with those wounds within us, walk into every room feeling like, oh, they don't like me, I'm a bad person, I'm too much, I'm not enough. That's not the truth, because those are all completely different people. So how would you know? But you're walking into the room already, and it doesn't matter what room. It doesn't matter if it's a party, if it's a new job, if it's a date, if it's whatever it is. If you always feel like you're only tolerated, then there's some work inside of you to be done of reparenting yourself, of getting in touch with your inner child and looking at, wait, when did I perceive that I'm not as worthy or lovable or acceptable? Yeah, this is something you can answer within. That's not something where you need to wait for validation from the outside, because honestly, the validation you get from the outside often will not feed your hunger. It will not help you to fully accept yourself. Sometimes it can really help when somebody that you care about tells you, hey, I love you, you're a good person. I hope you know that. Sometimes that can change something within us, and it's valid. And sometimes we need to understand that from ourselves, not in a mental way, but in an emotional way. And that happens when we connect to our inner child and understand the circumstances that we have developed the idea and the belief that we are not sufficient or too much in any way. So now as an adult, if you feel that way still, and you walk into every room you walk into, you may project onto that room, and the room is just a symbol for whatever situation you put yourself into. Whatever room you walk into, you may project that wound onto the room. Even all the people in the room have no idea who you even are, or no judgment towards you. These are the goggles that you put on your eyes when you open the door of the room. So that actually means you're not even trusting the person in front of you to, make up their opinion about you based on who you are. Sometimes we don't trust ourselves to be ourselves and be liked or be accepted the way we are when we walk into our room, because we learned that we cannot trust ourselves to be ourselves. So this is a wound that we need to clear out and heal within us, so that we first of all accept ourselves for who we are, and then walk into the room feeling confident and feeling okay, at least with ourselves, feeling okay with who we are, without our heart rate increasing, we're sweating, or we're scanning completely the room all the time about how could somebody look at us, what could somebody notice about my pullover, my fingernails, my hair, the way I speak. Because once you accept yourself deeper, and again, that can take some time, but it's worth looking into, your whole mental construct, the whole energy and time and effort that you use to scan the room and control the situation so that you don't feel out of control and don't feel judged or whatever, that will collapse, and you will have so much more space and mental room where you're not constantly busy, doing that scanning. You will just allow yourself to just be. And you will care less about, okay, this person likes me, this person doesn't. Because it's normal in life that not everybody likes you, and that has nothing to do, it's not a representation of the value that you are. You're inherently valuable. But just as much as one person, what is a good analogy for that? Just as much one person, cherishes one sort of artworks and the other person says, that's not my style, they like another kind of artwork, that's okay too. We can accept that people have different tastes. So we also have different connection points with people. So when somebody does or doesn't like you, that doesn't have to do with your value, because again, like I just said, you're inherently valuable. All of us are, no matter where we come from, no matter our skin color, no matter anything. You're born into this world, you're valuable. Unfortunately, the world doesn't see it like that, but that doesn't mean that it's not true. It's conditioning to measure somebody's value on, unfortunately, their bank account, their title, their skin color, their whatever. It's terrible. So if we want to live in a world that is more genuine and caring and loving towards each other, then it's also our responsibility to start with ourselves. Check in and, see where we have these wounds, to make ourselves feel more whole, and feel also what is already the truth that we may not be able to feel or see yet, that we are inherently worthy and deserving of loving relationships and people in our lives. Because we're not here to do it all alone. We're here to do it with mutual support. And I think we forgot that in the whole time where we learned that we all can do it by ourselves. We should do it ourselves. We're such individuals. We're such, like business people or whatever. That's been the narrative in the last years. But there's not for nothing the saying, it takes a village. And it's okay to rely on other people. If there's mutual respect and mutual support and, like some emotional intelligence of, hey, I support you, you support me in a genuine way, not just from the mind and from strategic reasons, but from the heart, from care. And often, especially those of us who are givers and often feel like we need to give more and more and more to be at least tolerated, often those people don't allow themselves to receive, because you may have not even learned that you can deserve to receive to that degree, because maybe you haven't experienced that, how that feels like as a child. And if we are not familiar with how something feels like, may sound stupid, but it's the truth, then we may feel afraid of it. That may feel uncomfortable and that may feel unsafe, because we don't know how to handle if somebody suddenly gives us back to a degree that we give. We've lost probably the sensitivity to how much we are giving, how much we are caring, in comparison to, or in comparison to how much we receive for that in return. And again, I don't mean this in a strategic way. I don't mean this in a commercial way. I mean this in a loving exchange way. So if you go out and you feel every time you meet somebody, there's like a strange feeling in your stomach or in your throat, in your heart, like a feeling of, I'm uncomfortable, this is scary. Then check in with yourself. What are your wounds? When did it happen? What do you really need? And then also it takes some courage to allow yourself to meet new people, to trust them, to have your best interest at heart. Now you may ask, yeah, but what if they don't? How can I understand that? How can I discern? And that's it. I say in so many of those videos, learn what your values are. Sit yourself down, write your values down. Why? Because you will be able to discern if people treat you in a way that doesn't, resonate with how you want to be treated, with your values. So, for example, I give you again my own example. Now when I'm kind of like meeting new people and then maybe friendships come out of that, how I know if those people are for me or not is I know exactly how I grew up. I know exactly what hurt me in the past. I also know everybody loves differently. Everybody has different values. So I don't need to make the other person wrong just because I have different needs than the other person. So when I meet new people and I know my values for friendships, I know what's important to me, especially if I haven't received that as a child. I know that, for example, emotional intelligence is important to me. I know that asking, how are you? And meaning it, wanting the long answer is important to me. I know that accepting my sensitivity is important to me. And so if I interact with other people and I feel like they are curious about hearing the long version of something, or they say, oh, I really, as you're a sensitive person, how do you feel about this? They really care about who you really are and nourish that rather than dismissing it. That would be a sign for me that this is a person I can trust. And if they dismiss my sensitivity, or if they don't actually listen to my opinion, or if they're always late when they meet me, or if they never get the time to have a long conversation, a deep conversation, then I just know that maybe this person is not for me. Because for me, friendships are deep, and I need that deep connection. And if that's not for them, that's okay. I don't need to make the other person bad for that. It's just you have different values, you have different interests, and sometimes different values are okay too. It's just how you can dance with each other from a genuine space without you having to make yourself different or make yourself smaller to fit into that mold of what the other person perceives as how the relationship should be, and vice versa. Yeah, so it's really important that's why I preach this every time. Know your values. And that's why looking into your inner child needs that were maybe unmet and reparenting yourself is very powerful, because then communicating that this is important for you will be easier to your partner, to your colleagues, to your boss, to your friends, to whoever. And you don't need to do it you can do it from a genuine, respectful, kind place. You don't need to make the other person bad and they don't need to make you bad. It's just that we all have different needs and preferences, and we're allowed to have them. We don't need to suppress them. And this is something that we all get to learn. So the next time you walk into a new room, I hope that you will allow yourself to be a little more yourself. And what helps for you in preparation for that is to just get to know yourself a little more. Understand what your needs are, who you are, what you desire, and be okay that you need that and desire that, and accept yourself on that deeper level. And then when you walk into a room, you may not feel like you need to defend yourself or you need to hide parts of yourself. And that may feel vulnerable at the beginning. But at the end of the day, we are all here to be vulnerable if we want to grow. You're watching this video, so I assume you may have the intention to grow and be with people and feel like you have a rich, full life. Rich, not necessarily in the sense of money, but if that's just your thing, go for it as well. There's nothing bad about money. But with rich, I mean good relationship, like asking for help. They can ask you for help. You have a laugh, you go on holiday, you're having a rich, a full life. That's what I wish for you. And to make that happen, it also takes us courage to open our hearts to ourselves, but then also giving others the benefit of a doubt. And you can discern, you're an adult, you're capable of discerning, is this person for me or not? And if they disappoint you, you can handle disappointment. Don't waste so much on a new relationship. You know, let that develop or not. But don't make it a projection of your wound that you're not good enough, because that's not true. And the person who needs to realize that is you, my friend. So I hope you do. Okay? I love you. You're good enough. Understand yourself a little better, because that will help you have flourishing relationships as well. And allow yourself to be vulnerable. Allow yourself to be a little courageous. Comment below, you know, in what part of your life this is true for you. Share a little story or just one word or whatever it is with us. I would love to have your voice in the comments. Like, subscribe, and I see you tomorrow. Thank you so much for tuning in. Ciao.